As a man stands in his apartment, trying to remember his ex-wife and daughter, he is suddenly bitten by a biologically advanced wasp. The next moment, he opens his eyes and finds himself turned into a teenage boy while everyone around him remains the same age. At the beginning of the story, a very powerful hitman named Ogami walks into the middle of a heist. The thieves are confused about why an old man has suddenly appeared. Ogami pulls out a gun and starts shooting everyone until no one is left alive. After dealing with the robbers, he finds a strange suitcase containing a glass jar. Inside the jar is a nest of wasps, but Ogami does not pay much attention to it and returns to his apartment. He takes off his jacket and tries to remember the family he lost because of his violent work. Suddenly, one of the strange wasps bites Ogami on the neck. When he wakes up, he sees a woman named Eri sitting in front of him. She immediately questions him about his name and affiliation. Ogami tells her his name and explains that he is an assassin. We then learn that Eri is actually the chief scientist of the assassin company and also Ogami's ex-wife. Eri hands him a mirror and tells him to look at himself. Ogami looks into the mirror and realizes that his age has been reduced to that of a teenager. Shocked, he cannot understand why he now looks like a boy. Eri explains that the wasp that bit him was no ordinary insect. It was created through laboratory experiments and possesses extraordinary abilities. Its venom can manipulate a person's genetics. Since Ogami was bitten by the same wasp, its biologically advanced venom altered his genetics and drastically reduced his age without causing any side effects. However, unlike most elderly people who would be happy to become young again, Ogami feels troubled by the situation. Ogami worries that earning money as a kid will become difficult since he still has loans to pay off. Suddenly, he receives a call from his boss. The boss has already been informed about Ogami's condition and gives him a job suited for his new appearance. He wants Ogami to enroll in a high school and investigate it thoroughly because he plans to send his daughter there and wants to make sure the school is safe. Ogami's tech-savvy sidekick, Kotatsu, gives him special goggles equipped with a camera and microphone so they can stay in contact at all times. Ogami arrives at the school, but he ruins his first impression during his self-introduction, causing everyone in the class to think he is a loser. Because of this, two girls named Takada and Boba purposely bump into him just to mock him. The next day, a strange panda-masked man enters the school. His creepy behavior frightens everyone, causing students to run away, but Takada and Boba remain standing there. When the panda-masked man notices them, he becomes excited and decides to attack them. Seeing the girls in danger, Ogami wants to help, but Kotatsu suggests that he should ignore them since they bullied him before. Kotatsu believes letting the panda-masked man harass them would teach them a lesson. However, Ogami does not agree. He cannot stand by and watch Takada and Boba get bullied. Since he cannot openly reveal his fighting abilities in front of the students, Ogami grabs another student's chalk box and throws it at the panda-masked man. The impact creates a cloud of chalk dust that acts like a smoke screen. Taking advantage of the distraction, Ogami attacks the panda-masked man. At first, he plans to knock him out with a single powerful punch, but the panda-masked man survives because Ogami no longer possesses the same strength he had as an adult. The panda-masked man then pulls a small firework out of his underwear and tries to blow up Ogami along with everyone nearby. Ogami quickly kicks him between the legs, causing the man to scream in unbearable pain and accidentally throw the explosive into the air. Before the bomb can fall back down and explode near them, Ogami shoots it in midair. When Takada and Boba see Ogami standing there, they finally realize that he was the one who saved them and defeated the panda-masked man. However, Ogami immediately denies everything and acts like it had nothing to do with him. He keeps insisting that he is just a loser otaku because the last thing he wants is attention or popularity at school. Later, when Ogami's classmates decide to create a class group chat, they initially plan to leave him out because he seems quiet, awkward, and lonely. Most of the students barely even try to talk to him and already see him as some weird outcast. Despite that, Takada and Boba walk up to him and personally add him to the group chat as a way of thanking him for saving them. Even though Ogami pretends not to care, a small part of him feels strangely warm seeing someone finally acknowledge him. Still, the moment dozens of non-stop messages begin flooding his phone, he immediately regrets joining and becomes irritated. Soon, Ogami becomes deeply invested in studying. Surprisingly, he starts enjoying school life more and more because, when he was younger, he never had the chance to properly finish his education. Between assassinations and violence, he lost the normal childhood he could have had, so attending classes every day now gives him a strange sense of peace he never experienced before. One day, Takada and Boba approach him again, but this time their attitude is completely different. Ever since learning that Ogami was the one who protected them from the panda-masked man, they have started respecting him. Instead of mocking him, they genuinely want to become his friends despite his awkward behavior and terrible reputation among the other students. Although Ogami acts annoyed around around them. Deep down he is not entirely against having people around him for once. Meanwhile, Eri tries convincing Ogami to talk to the school's most popular girl, Norin, because she believes Norin may know something connected to the age-reducing wasp. Ogami doubts she could possibly have any useful information, but with no better leads, he decides to approach her anyway. However, before he can even introduce himself, Norin coldly rejects him. She tells him she hates him and orders him to stay away from her. The rejection hits Ogami harder than expected. After everything he has survived as an assassin, being instantly hated for no reason leaves him strangely shaken. Completely defeated, he collapses in the hallway, where Takada and Boba later find him. Ogami tells them what happened, and Takada explains that Norin behaves like that toward every boy. According to them, Norin comes from a wealthy family and has rejected countless students who tried asking her out. Feeling upset and discouraged, Ogami heads home. Along the way, he stops at a small ramen restaurant to clear his mind, only to unexpectedly discover Norin working there as a waitress. At first, Ogami says nothing and quietly eats his ramen while pretending not to notice her. Meanwhile, Norin keeps nervously glancing in his direction while serving customers. Once the shop closes for the night, she finally approaches him. Ogami notices that Norin's personality feels completely different from the cold girl at school. Instead of acting proud and untouchable, she seems anxious and worried. Norin becomes afraid that Ogami might expose her secret and tell everyone at school that the most popular rich girl in class secretly works part-time as a waitress at a tiny ramen shop. As they walk home together, Norin explains that the ramen shop belongs to her uncle and that she only works there to help him out. Unlike what most people think, she does not care much about her wealthy parents or their luxurious lifestyle. In fact, she dislikes how fake and controlling rich people can be. More than anything, Norin dreams of living a simple and normal life someday, just like her uncle, and hopes to open her own ramen shop in the future. Ogami quietly listens as she talks, slightly surprised to see this softer side of her. At school, Norin always acts cold and untouchable, but outside of it, she seems like a completely different person. As they are about to go their separate ways, a black van suddenly pulls up beside them. Before Norin can even react, a man grabs her and drags her inside the vehicle. The van speeds away, leaving Ogami standing there in shock for a brief moment. Ogami immediately decides he cannot ignore what just happened. He quickly climbs an electric tower nearby and scans the streets from above until he spots the black van racing through traffic. He takes out his gun and fires at the vehicle, but instead of shooting a bullet, the weapon launches a GPS tracking device that sticks to the van. Using the tracker, Ogami follows the kidnappers to their hideout. Inside the building, one of the kidnappers begins questioning Norin about a top-secret drug her father has been developing. The man believes Norin knows the formula or hidden ingredients behind it, but Norin repeatedly insists that she knows nothing about her father's research. The kidnapper refuses to believe her and even threatens to kill her uncle if she keeps refusing to talk. Terrified and cornered, Norin starts losing hope, but suddenly a gunshot echoes through the room. The kidnapper collapses to the floor as Ogami appears from the shadows. Before Norin can clearly see him, Ogami quickly covers her head with his bag to hide his identity. Without wasting time, Ogami grabs Norin and rushes downstairs while fighting through the men blocking their escape route. Even in his younger body, his movements are sharp and overwhelming enough to take down multiple enemies. Just as they finally make it outside, the gang boss appears with the van and tries to run them over. Ogami immediately pushes Norin out of danger and throws a nearby wooden frame directly at the vehicle. The driver loses control, causing the van to flip over violently. The next morning, Norin wakes up safely in her room and almost convinces herself that the entire incident was only a nightmare. However, when she notices the tape marks left on her wrists, she realizes the kidnapping was real. She also remembers something else clearly. The voice of the person who saved her sounded exactly like Ogami's. The following day at school, Norin approaches Ogami and awkwardly thanks him for saving her life. However, Ogami acts completely clueless and pretends he has no idea what she is talking about. Soon after, Ogami faces another serious challenge. He cannot solve a difficult math problem no matter how hard he tries. Frustrated, he asks Kotatsu for help, but Kotatsu turns out to be even worse at math than he is. Left with no choice, Ogami calls Eri for help. Unfortunately, Eri says she is already overwhelmed with laboratory work. house chores, and researching a way to restore Ogami back to his original age. Eri casually suggests that he should simply ask his teacher for help, but Ogami immediately rejects the idea because he feels embarrassed asking someone technically younger than him to explain middle school math. While sitting alone in the library feeling miserable, one of his classmates named Ryo suddenly approaches him. Ryo already knows Ogami has been struggling with math, so he offers to help him study. As they begin studying together, the two slowly become friends. Thanks to Ryo's patience and support, Ogami starts focusing better during class and eventually manages to earn a perfect score on his math exam. Surprisingly, the achievement makes him happier than many of the dangerous missions he completed during his years as an assassin. Later, Ogami and Ryo visit a cafe together. While they are talking, a frustrated-looking man accidentally bumps into Ryo and immediately becomes aggressive. Ogami and Ryo choose to ignore him and move to another table, but the strange man secretly continues listening to their conversation. During their talk, Ryo mentions that he studies hard because he wants to become a doctor someday. Hearing this, the strange man suddenly stands up and loudly declares that trying to become a doctor in modern times is stupid and nothing but a waste of money. He continues ranting and even mocks Ogami for struggling with middle school level studies. Ryo becomes visibly angry and tells the man to stop talking nonsense. When the other customers notice the man harassing two students, they begin scolding him as well, forcing him to run away in embarrassment. Later that evening, while Ogami and Ryo are walking home, the same man secretly follows them. Filled with resentment, he plans to push them off a bridge and into the river below as revenge. However, Ogami notices him long before he makes his move and immediately realizes something dangerous is about to happen. Acting casually, Ogami quietly pulls a compass out of his school bag and throws it behind him with perfect accuracy. The compass strikes the man, causing him to lose his balance and fall straight off the bridge into the river below. The next morning, when Ogami returns to school, he sees students everywhere recruiting new members for different clubs. Wanting to avoid unnecessary attention, Ogami initially decides not to join any club at all. However, when Ryo mentions that he plans to join the Kendo club alongside his dream of becoming a doctor, Ogami starts reconsidering the idea. Even so, he avoids sports clubs because he knows his abilities are far beyond those of ordinary students his age. Instead, he begins searching for a more normal club where he can quietly fit in without standing out too much. They check the club guidebook together, and Ogami notices a club focused on household chores like sewing, cleaning, cooking, and other daily skills. The moment he sees it, he laughs and casually says that the club is probably filled with girls. However, before he can continue joking, Ryo's older sister, Chisato, suddenly appears behind them. Apparently, she is the president of the house chores club, and she is clearly offended by Ogami's comment. Chisato firmly believes that household skills are not just for women, and that everyone should learn how to take care of themselves properly. Because of that, she invites Ogami to visit her club as a trial member. She even threatens him by saying that if he refuses to come, she will stop him from hanging out with Ryo altogether. Left with no real choice, Ogami eventually visits the house chores club. To his surprise, he sees both boys and girls participating together. Seeing male students there completely catches him off guard since he genuinely expected it to be an all-girls club. Soon after, Chisato suddenly challenges Ogami to a contest. She confidently declares that if the club activities turn out to be boring, she will personally take care of all of Ogami's daily needs for 6 entire months as punishment. At first, Ogami treats the whole thing like a joke, but things slowly begin to change once he starts learning how to cook. Since he spent most of his life as an assassin, he never had the chance to learn basic things like preparing meals for himself. When Chisato asks if he enjoyed the activity and wants to become a member, Ogami hesitated and eventually denied. But Chisato was not done yet. She packed the food he prepared, which Ogami sent to his ex-wife and daughter. To his surprise, they both genuinely loved it. His daughter even excitedly asks him to improve and make it even better next time. Hearing those words affects Ogami more deeply than he expected. For the first time in a long while, he feels oddly happy doing something peaceful instead of violent. Motivated by that feeling, he finally decides to officially join the house chores club. However, he soon discovers that Norin is also joining the same club. Right after learning this, Ogami suddenly receives a call from Kotatsu. Excited, Kotatsu claims that he may have finally discovered a way to return Ogami to his original body. However, there is one condition: Ogami must marry Norin. Kotatsu explains that Norin's father owns a pharmaceutical company rumored to be secretly developing an anti-aging drug that could be connected to the same technology affecting Ogami's body. The next morning, when Ogami arrives for his first official club meeting, he immediately runs into another problem. Because Norin joined the house chores club, countless boys suddenly signed up as well just to get close to her. The non-stop attention frustrates Norin to the point where she suddenly makes a shocking announcement in front of everyone. She boldly claims that she is already dating Ogami. The entire room falls silent in disbelief. Afterward, Ogami and Norin hide together from the angry boys desperately searching for answers. Completely confused, Ogami asks why she would say something like that, and Norin awkwardly explains that she simply wanted all the boys to leave her alone and panicked in the moment. According to Kotatsu, though, this situation actually benefits Ogami perfectly since it clears the path for him to eventually marry Norin and gain access to her father's company. Not long after, Norin asks Ogami if he can continue pretending to be her boyfriend so nobody else approaches her anymore. Because of the fake relationship, Ogami quickly becomes the target of school bullies and jealous students. Even though defeating them would be easy for someone like him, Ogami avoids fighting because he does not want to get suspended and ruin his mission. Instead, he chooses to run away whenever trouble appears, which only makes the rumors around school grow even more ridiculous. Soon, Takada and Boba warn Ogami that dating Norin could bring him far more dangerous problems. They tell him about an elite student group called Unicorn. Every member of Unicorn specializes in martial arts and excels in nearly everything they do. According to rumors, many of its members are obsessed with Norin and want to date her themselves. Once they hear about Ogami's relationship with her, they will most likely target him as well. Back at home, Kotatsu warns Ogami that pretending to date Norin could become extremely dangerous and suggests that he publicly deny the relationship before things spiral out of control. At the same time, Kotatsu suspects something much bigger is happening behind the scenes. He believes powerful people from the underworld have secretly sent elite individuals into the school to compete for Norin's attention and eventually marry into her family. Their real goal is not romance. It is obtaining the rumored anti-aging formula connected to her father's company. The next morning, Norin meets Ogami before class and quietly tells him that he no longer has to pretend to be her boyfriend anymore. She feels guilty that he keeps getting dragged into fights because of her, and even says she is considering quitting the club. However, before the conversation can continue, one of the bullies suddenly appears and challenges Ogami to a fight. Hoping to protect him, Norin quickly announces that she and Ogami are no longer dating. Hearing this makes the bully ecstatic, and he immediately starts pressuring Norin to go out with him instead. The bully aggressively demands that Norin become his girlfriend, but Ogami suddenly steps forward and claims that they are still together after all. He coldly warns the bully to keep his hands off her. When the bully angrily throws a punch at him, Ogami casually stops it with barely any effort. The terrifying difference in strength instantly scares the bully away. Norin watches the entire scene in shock. For a brief moment, she sees a side of Ogami that feels completely different from the awkward boy everyone else sees at school. However, neither of them realizes that another person has been secretly watching everything unfold from nearby. His name is Babyface, and just like the others, he also plans to marry Norin in order to obtain the anti-aging drug for himself. The next morning, after Ogami decides to continue pretending to be Norin's boyfriend, Norin shyly gives him a pen as a gift. She tells him that her father personally sent it for him, leaving Ogami both confused and suspicious about what Norin's family might already know about him. Soon after, a new transfer student joins Norin's class under the name Shin. However, the moment Ogami sees him, he immediately senses that something is wrong. The way Shin moves, observes people, and hides his presence makes Ogami realize that this boy is not ordinary at all. He quickly suspects that Shin has been sent by the underworld just like him. Surprisingly, the moment Shin lays eyes on Norin, his entire attitude changes. Instead of acting calm and dangerous, he completely fumbles his introduction and embarrasses himself in front of the class. Nervously sitting beside Norin, he immediately slips her a love letter and asks her to meet him during lunch break. Not wanting to meet such a suspicious person alone, Norin drags Ogami along with her. When Shin finally arrives at the meeting spot, everyone is caught off guard by the sight of him casually sucking on a pacifier. Norin stares at him in disbelief since someone his age should definitely not be acting like that so openly. Trying to end things quickly, Norin tells Shin that she already has a boyfriend, Ogami. However, Shin completely ignores her words. Instead, he suddenly grabs her hand and passionately confesses that he fell in love with her at first sight. For a brief second, Norin looks closely at Shin and cannot deny that he is strangely attractive. But almost immediately, she punches him in the face. She refuses to believe someone could genuinely fall in love with her that quickly and suspects somebody must be manipulating him somehow. Despite getting punched, Shin becomes even more fascinated by her. A moment later, Shin suddenly shifts his attention toward Ogami and tries tries to kick him without warning. Ogami narrowly dodges the attack, but before he can react further, Shin instantly appears behind him and quietly whispers that he already knows Ogami works in the same world as him. Hearing that immediately puts Ogami on edge. Right after that, Shin challenges Ogami to a duel. According to the conditions, if Shin wins, Ogami must hand over the special pen Norin gave him. Ogami has no choice but to accept because the challenge has already been officially registered under the school's bizarre competition rules. News about the duel spreads throughout the school almost instantly, and huge crowds gather to watch the match. Shin proudly explains the rules of the competition. His objective is simple. He must force a pacifier into Ogami's mouth while Ogami tries to stop him. If Shin succeeds within 1 hour, he wins the duel and earns the right to become Norin's boyfriend. The moment the match begins, Shin launches himself at Ogami with terrifying speed while trying to shove the pacifier into his mouth. Almost immediately, Ogami realizes that Shin is not just some weird student playing around. He is a highly trained and genuinely dangerous opponent. Not wanting to lose in such a humiliating way, Ogami immediately retreats into the school building, desperately dodging Shin's non-stop attacks while students watch the ridiculous battle unfold in complete shock. However, Shin's obsession with the pacifier goes deeper than simply winning the duel. He wants to force Ogami into acting just as ridiculous as him. In Shin's mind, if Ogami embarrasses himself in front of everyone, Norin may eventually lose interest in him and choose Shin instead. As the timer continues counting down, Ogami escapes outside the school grounds, but only 1 minute remains. Seeing victory within reach, Shin suddenly throws a pacifier directly toward Ogami. Just when everyone believes the duel is finally over, Shin suddenly pulls out dozens of pacifiers and launches them all at once. Ogami leaps into the air to avoid the bizarre attack, but Shin immediately follows up with another move and successfully ties Ogami's hands together. For a split second, it seems like Ogami has lost. At that exact moment, Ogami accidentally steps onto a hidden trap prepared by Shin beforehand. Fortunately, his assassin instincts kick in at the last possible second, allowing him to narrowly escape before the trap activates completely. In the end, the timer runs out before Shin can complete his objective, causing him to officially lose the duel. Norin feels relieved, believing she has finally gotten rid of the strange transfer student once and for all. However, her relief disappears almost immediately when she later discovers that Shin has officially joined the house chores club as well. Even after losing, Shin has absolutely no intention of giving up. And that's where this episode ends. Like and subscribe for more, and we'll meet again in the next video.